From the studios of Adaba 8.9 FM, good afternoon and welcome to today's edition of the Round Table. Well, it is a fact that factors that enhance development in any nation are interrelated. That means that one cannot stand independent of the other. This is why it is said that failure in one area can have serious negative impact on every other development index in the country. We all know the social and economic growth of a people depend on the standard of living, their health, their education, and some other factors. Now, this afternoon on the program, we'll be talking about insecurity. Well, we're not just talking about insecurity. We'll be looking at the economic implications of insecurity in the country. Not just, we also domesticate it. We'll talk about Ondo State and very close to this place as well, Ekiti State, because this last week, so many things happened in Ondo State. The death, the killing of the traditional ruler of Ifon, that is in Ose local government, and the kidnapping of the wife of the chief of staff to the governor, Mrs. Lale, who was since been rescued. Also in Ekiti State, the Baptist Reverend who was killed between Ibaraudo and Ikeresh, he was coming from Osun State, where we learned that he had gone to visit his mother. Also in Ekiti State as well, a Chinese engineer who was working with the construction company that is handling the dualization of the New Inn Road was also kidnapped. A policeman attached to him was killed in the process. Okay, let me welcome my studio guest, Mr. Tosin Jagede. Thank you very much for coming on today's edition of the program.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Rotimi Ogunleye, thank you very much for coming.
It's my pleasure, Mr. Dimeji.
And also, Mr. Theo Adaba, thank you very much for coming.
Good afternoon.
Okay, like I said, let me begin from Mr. Rotimi Ogunleye. Like I said in my introduction, that in any economy, you can have one factor independent of the other. In fact, you have you discover that some of these things are intertwined when you talk about development, when you talk about how you can measure development in any economy. What do you think that are the implications of what is happening in Nigeria? I'm talking about insecurity now on Nigeria's economy.
Well, we must not delude ourselves. No economy on its own can stand without relationship with other economies. As human, we need to trade, we need to market our skill, we need to exchange ideas with other persons before we can talk of transaction, before we can talk of economic benefit, isn't it? Such is the life of a nation. A nation cannot stand alone without relating with other nations of the world. Not even now that we have global economy, that the economy of that man with the required skill in Ekiti can be transacting business with somebody in Germany or US. So when you now have a very serious security breach in the country, the implication is that the equivalent foreign direct investment that could be of advantage to that particular country, you will lose substantial part of them. Two, the technical services that you could get that may not be readily available in enough quantity in your country, you may not get as at when due. For example, I was involved in a project at a point when COVID-19 pandemic broke. A component of the machine that is being used to process a particular raw material that we normally use in that project, that component spoiled. But because there's no way we could import that particular component at that time, for 2 solid months, there was a serious manufacturing downtime. You talk of man hour that is being lost, you talk of turnover that is lost, you talk of overhead expenditure that will be incurred by that company. So imagine what will happen within that 2 months. That is what a breach in economic activities could mean. Imagine somebody who was an expatriate. I mean, is an expatriate in Ekiti State. The security attached to him, the security personnel attached to him, was murdered.
And he was kidnapped.
Yes. Now, such a news, if you were to be part of that company, or you were to be somebody that's supposed to come around and replace,
I will not go to site today.
So what happened is that we'll continue to lose what I call serious economic bond. It will continue to hack away, and if we don't redress it, it will snowball. Like we already said, they are intertwined. It will get to all other sectors of the economy, and before you know it,
has it not gotten to other sectors of the economy now? Because if you talk about education, that has been disrupted in the north. There are people now. Okay, let's say for instance, your child is schooling in Ifon,
yes,
or in Ose local government. You sure be scared of taking your child to school.
Maybe if you have to send a platoon of soldiers to take my daughter there, that is the only time I can go there. So what I'm saying in essence is that if it goes more than this, if the situation is not addressed, if political solution is not found to the problem, we will confront humongous economic challenges that would nearly shut down the entire economy of the nation. That is the truth here. Because I see this, I mean, going into other states and other regions of the country, and if it becomes a uniform thing, you can imagine what will happen. I pray that we'll get solution to this on time, but it will certainly have a remarkable influence, more than what we ever imagined on our economy, if it continues like
now. Let's talk about consumer confidence. Can it have a negative impact on consumer confidence as well, where consumer spending is reduced?
The truth of the matter is that whichever negative variable that affects,
I'm talking about at the individual level now.
Yes, yes, I get what I'm saying.
For instance, if I'm to go to Ifon to buy plantain today to sell in a
what I'm saying is this. What I just want to put it in a summary form in a country language. Whatever variable is affecting transactional chains negatively, every other dependent or independent variable that is on that particular chain will be affected as well. It's as simple as that. For example, somebody who maybe is a trader that will have to go to Ekiti State, maybe pick some items and sell here. Let's even say pineapple. Such a person now will begin to be afraid. Such a person, instead of, living here to Ekiti State, might need to involve a middleman who will now help go to the farm, source all of that. It will certainly increase the cost of sourcing of that,
and that's added the cost to the consumer. Yes. Who gets to buy those.
Yes, that's it. And as a matter of fact, the consumer may not even get the right product that he used to get, because the particular seller is not the person now that will go shopping and pick those items. So that may reduce his patronage. That may reduce a kind of consumption of that particular product. So whatever negative that affects that chain will affect every participant in the economic.
Mr. Tosin, do you think government appreciates all these problems? What we're talking about, the implications of insecurity, from what you've seen so far, especially the political leadership in the country, do you think they appreciate the enormity of what Nigeria is experiencing at the moment?
Well, thank you very much. It will be difficult. It will be difficult to assume that government does not appreciate that they don't. Somebody will be in government and you will not appreciate the impact or the enormity of the problem. Now, it's for me, it's quite difficult. What my challenge is government showing that they sincerely appreciate the impact of the insecurity, because they are not taking steps that can convince a reasonable human being that government actually know that this is impacting let's take for instance, what happened in Bono,
where the United Nations said 110 farmers. Government says 43, but United Nations says 110 farmers.
Let's say 43 rice farmers. The what I want to look at is the rice farmer. Government ban importation of rice into Nigeria. Now, rice farmers are being murdered on their farms, and government come up to say they did not take pass.
Military permit.
They did not take military permits to go to their farm.
That was from Adaba
So
in an interview with BBC Hausa this morning, today.
Is that going to a point where farmers in this country has to take a military pass to go to their farm? And this government came in with the understanding that we want to grow what we eat. But those who will grow what they eat are getting murdered on the farm.
So food production, food sufficiency is being hampered.
It's being hampered. So if government actually understand the enormity, it will be difficult for anybody in government to come out and say in public that a farmer needs to get military pass, and you will now blame the farmer for getting killed because they didn't take military pass.
Let me quickly read what Garba Shehu, part of what he told BBC Hausa today. He said, people need to understand what it's like in the Lake Chad area. Much of those areas have been liberated by Boko Haram terrorists, but there are a number of spaces that have not been cleared for the return of villagers who have been displaced. Ideally, all of these places ought to probably be allowed to pass the test of military clearance before settlers or even farmers resume activities on those fields. When the BBC probed further whether it was blaming those farmers for the attack, they said not exactly, but the truth has to be said. Is there any clearance by the military which is in total control of those areas? Did anybody ask to resume activities? I have been told by the military leaders that they have not been so advised.
You can imagine the contradiction. A government spokesperson says the place is under military control. However, citizens need to get clearance before they can visit a place that is under military control. So can we really, in good conscience and with our clear mind, agree that those places are under military control? It means that you must ask the military, when can I go to farm? Okay, you cannot go to farm this week. You can't go to farm until next month.
Some of the villagers are even saying that some bodies that everybody has not been accounted for. So some bodies have not been able to. They have not been able to recover some bodies.
So it is the same thing everywhere. It's the same thing at the state level. It's the same thing in the southwest. We came up with a Amotekun initiative, wonderful initiative, but have we actually used it correctly? What is Amotekun doing on the street of Akure arresting Okada man? Is that the motive? Is that the issue that we need to solve? Is Amotekun not supposed to be gathering intelligence? Okay, if we're actually gathering intelligence, can you sincerely tell me that a particular route, kidnappers will be operating on that route consistently for about a week or two? What do we do with intelligence? So I want to agree that it's either of two things. That those in government actually understand the problem, but there's a conspiracy.
Conspiracy of silence or what?
Conspiracy
what kind
of corruption.
Okay.
I think insecurity in Nigeria is becoming a very big corruption. That people are now, those in government probably profits from it, and therefore
we cannot be sure of that.
Because of their personal interest, that is difficult to understand why no average Nigerian travels today without thinking of being kidnapped. You can't drive in your car. If I'm coming to this studio now, if I see S-men on the road, I'll probably turn back. So we are always, all of us, including those in government, are even afraid to go out. You can imagine when the wife of the chief of staff is kidnapped. It shows how, and this is those in government, like I said on this program sometimes, an average government house, state government house, has minimum of 250 policemen.
How would you know?
Because the Department of Police is always attached to a government house. We're not talking about DSS, we're not talking about civil defense. But take for instance of Baile here in Akure North. A whole community there will probably have less than 20 policemen that are ill-equipped, securing, let's say, over 2,000 people. So we need to change the orientation of our security. We need to start protecting the citizen and not protecting those in government against the citizen.
Okay, let me turn to Mr. Adeboale. When you hear comments like the one we just read, from Garo Bashir, the spokesperson of the president, what does it say to you? Does it say anything to you about the political will on the part of government to put an end to insecurity in Nigeria?
Well, my thinking is that the insecurity generated from government itself, at least government officials.
Why do you say so?
Look at Borno. If you look at Boko Haram, it was a prominent public official that put up what was to become Boko Haram. And it was because of the lack of respect of public officials to processes and institutions of the state. Now, the state, you talk about in a political system, you have a political party, an institution that is supposed to organize and present people for election. But certain public officials believe that they are too big. They are bigger than the institution. And so they want to sidetrack it. In order to sidetrack it, they will make arrangements that will undermine the system. And before you know it, because of naivety of our people, they will leave them, they would abandon them until they have sufficiently subverted this government, this official process. So when we continue to have this type of situation, the overall objective, the overall achievement of the totality of it is that you undermine the system, you undermine insecurity, and you undermine security, and everybody behaves as they like. Look at the whole of political process. Individuals who are made candidates, individuals who are elected on party basis, as soon as they took office, they became bigger than the system, they became bigger than the party, they became bigger than the political system, than the police, than everything. And at the end of the day, by breaching those things that are supposed to provide an equilibrium for the society, they create a state of insecurity, which eventually they and the society cannot manage. So when we have this, then it is a question of the plaguing its inventor. And until we begin to address this issue seriously, we are not going to get anywhere. Because as soon as you breach it, there are supporters, there are people who continue to sing your praise. There are people who say that you are the best thing that has happened to the system, and it encourages others to behave in like manner.
Okay, let me if I understand Mr. Adeboale correctly, some of the things that he has mentioned. Let me turn to Mr. Jagede now. I think he has talked about economic imbalance, where you have a few people in the society flaunting word, while you have the majority, the masses. Some are not even able to find anything to eat. Would you say that economic imbalance is also responsible for what we're going through today in Nigeria?
Absolutely, I agree with him. Economic imbalance is one of the problems we are dealing with. Now, take for instance, in a state where government says we are broke, and we probably could not even pay salary, but you see your governor driving in a convoy of 15 cars. In fact, the truth of the matter is that most of the governors, you see the best of vehicles on their convoy. Now, and they tell the citizen that the government is broke. So if we are broke, shouldn't our governors be riding on e-locks or trying to save money? Now, how do you expect? So it's like the people are already seeing it as it is they against us. So every opportunity to hit back at them, let's do it. And that's what we saw when Udlom took over the NSAS protest. You see a people trying to attack those they have considered their enemy. And these people are supposed to be their political leaders. They are supposed to be their leaders. But because there is a disparity, you see somebody who is broke, who cannot account for 1,000 naira, becomes appointed or become elected, and the next thing is suddenly becomes the richest on the street. So it gives an average citizen on the street an impression that probably there's the money that is meant for us is what they are sharing. And you will not see patriotism in that, because the average citizen does not see the government or the nation or the country working in his favor. He sees government working against him. So if he has the opportunities to undermine government,
he would take it.
Yeah, he would take it in order to also enrich himself, because he has seen several examples. Talk to young men today and ask 10 of them, what do you want to become? They either want to become a senator, they want to become an honorable, or they want to become a governor. And you ask them why, because they said they are rich.
That's where the money is.
That's where the money is. You hardly see somebody who now wants to become a medical doctor, I want to become an engineer, an architect, who wants to become a professional, because they feel that my father is a professional.
What do you think the implication of that is for Nigeria? If we continue to move in that direction,
if we move in that direction, then you completely lose our value. Then you breed people who do not believe in the nation, in the country, and you cannot have unity in that wise. Unity comes when all of us see ourselves as pursuing a single goal, which is for the nation to move forward. But when the idea has been turned to an individualistic place, where I am fighting to have a borehole in my house, I am fighting to provide electricity from my house, that's why you see a politician going to a particular street and ask them, what do you want? Everybody is telling him their personal problem. Nobody is saying we need transformer. Nobody is saying we need to have pipe-borne water. No, everybody is saying, give me money so I can buy a generator. Give me generator that I can use for my business. So it's individualistic. All of us are pursuing individualistic goal, and we cannot get unity there. There will not be peace there, because I will hurt anybody so I can meet my need. But if we are all fighting for a nation, and this is not the fault of the citizen, we have not even seen leaders that are fighting for us. And that's where the disparity comes in. Those who you have elected to speak for you are practically speaking for themselves.
Okay, let me turn to Mr. Rotimi Ogunleye. What can we get to a point? Okay, let me ask you this: what the level of insecurity in Nigeria? What does this say about our image on the international scene now? Can it get to a point where we have what I call national isolation, or if you like to call it international isolation, where it is in a way it is already happening. We have countries that now tell their citizens not to travel to certain parts of Nigeria. There are countries who will now tell their citizens that wherever you go in Nigeria, you have to be very, very careful. Where certainly you would not want to go to Yemen as you are now. I don't think there's anything that will take you to Syria or Yemen. Can we get to a point, if we continue to go on this path, where something like that happens? And let's talk about FDI as well. How this is affecting the foreign direct investment. There is a statistics by the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. It says that FDI flows into Nigeria from 2005 to 2007, before Boko Haram, average between $5.3 billion annually. Now, fast forward to 2015, between 2015 and 2019, it dropped to $3.3 billion.
That means, if that is the marginal decline in FDI, then it means the situation is redeemable.
We're in 2020 now. Well,
I want to believe is way bad than what we have there, statistics. Now, thank you very much. Recall that under Goodluck Jonathan, the government of the United States of America warned our citizens not to travel to some certain part of the country. If you recall, it was because, as at that time, in fact, precisely, there were some points in Abuja where they would not even come to. If you recall, you would agree with me that as at that particular point in time, the Americans were not comfortable going to some spots in Nigeria. There was bombs here, explosive here and there. Those times are coming back. And when things like that happen, the reality is that the business community in those developed world will sit down, they will appraise their investments. In 2005 that you mentioned there, Nigeria was an emerging market. We just returned to democracy, where the legal system, the court, the three arms of government supposedly were believed that they are going to function in a true federal structure. So every investors outside the world was like looking at Nigeria economy as an emerging economy where they can bring their phone to do business and make profits. So we were benefiting from that. The first point of benefit was our telecommunication sector. You see so many investors trudging into our country wanting to put money into it. And when we're talking about commercialization, privatization of our energy sector, you see so many of them expressing interest. And as at that point in time in 2012-13, it has started declining. So if you watch this trend, you will know that when there is serious security challenge, when it is not safe for citizens to do some certain things on their soil, you cannot expect, I repeat, expect any foreign nationals to come to Nigeria with their cash to say they want to do business here. Because when there is security breach, there will be political instability.
So FDI flows will drop.
Certainly, it's just at a proportionate level. So when you have all these two, political instability, security breach, then you have FDI coming down.
Why then do you think government keeps mouthing we are bringing in investors with the level of insecurity we have?
Yes, thank you very much. One area that in recent time, in about 2-3 years, if you listen to Nigeria Board of Statistics,
the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, NBS.
Thank you. If you listen to their statistics, when they were talking about our GDP, in some sectors we have extreme negative GDP, some 7.2, some 6.7. In some other sectors we have positive GDP. That was the reason why those areas we have positive GDP, who has reached for those areas we have extremely bad negative GDP, and it came down to about 3 point something. So that brought us to this recession that we have. It would have been worse off. It would have been maybe 7 or 8%. Are you getting it?
Yes.
So now that we are where we are, it shows that there are still some other sectors that are doing well. I'll give you one good example. That is the area of agriculture. When the border was closed, there were so many activities in rice production sector. So many people, so many rice milling industry were coming up. So you will see people putting their money into that.
But what about now? The farmers are being killed.
Yes, that's what I'm coming here. Some may not be able to come physically to farm here, but it may be a very good avenue for a well-structured business entity here to access foreign fund to plow into agricultural business. Like Coast Carries and all others, they are investing heavily in agriculture, rice plantation, for instance. So, government may continue to explore that area as much as they will get investors who will come and bring out their money and invest in that particular area. So, they may be talking in relation to that. It is allowed. But what is happening now?
Yes.
The rice farmers being killed. You can be rest assured that it will have a far-reaching effect.
Oh, let's look at the place like Benue.
Okay.
Benue is referred to as the food basket of the
Of
nation.
course.
With the farmers and herdsmen clashes, it has certainly affected the farm produce coming out of Benue.
No, if you know, it's only that if we look inward, you will agree with me that despite all what supposedly the government is doing in the area of agriculture, we still have a quick shortage of food. Price of foods keep going up. It means that the local content of this policy is not yielding the expected result that ought to have been yielded. It means that so many local farmers, their capacity to farm and supply food that will be used to oil the local commerce, it's not there, it's being hindered. So this is just an incident that advertised what seriously have been going underground in the past. So there has not been enough local commensurate effort in terms of food production. So this will further worsen the situation. So in 2023 we may have a very serious 2021 we may have a very serious food
shortage. Okay, now, Mr. Adaba, up north we have, if you like, call it insurgency or terrorism. Here we have kidnapping. In the south we have kidnapping. Even in the north there's banditry as well. Do you see any link between this, between Boko Haram, between kidnapping down south?
Definitely. When a section of a system is sick, until you are able to exercise that sickness, it will definitely manifest in other areas. And mark you, the insurgents, the bandits, they operate within the Nigerian space.
Do you think they are coming down south?
Yes, they are down south. The only thing is that whether they have been able to get sufficient ground to manifest their banditry in the south as much as they have already established elsewhere. But I want to believe that in the course of their operation, if any area is getting too hot for them, they will definitely want to excuse themselves and migrate to some other areas and see whether the place will be more conducive than for their activities. And that is what is happening. I think the social system in the south did not permit them to establish immediately. But as time goes on, they continue to learn, they continue to understand the geography better, they continue to understand the social system, they penetrate, and they expand their operations. And until we are able to get governmental apparatus to understand the phenomenon and address the phenomenon, things will definitely get worse.
Mrs. Tosi Jagere, do you see some people have said that what is happening up north, that what is happening here in terms of kidnapping is a fallout of what is happening up north. Is it true?
It looks to me like kidnapping down south or kidnapping even in the north, because that kidnapping in the north. Because if you read,
places like Kaduna,
if you read the statement of the emir of Sokoto, the statement reads that it had gotten so bad that they knock at doors now.
Yeah, the Sultan. That
Sultan.
they go into people's houses.
They go into people's houses to kidnap them and ask them for ransom. There is also a record that even in Zamfara, people pay tax to the bandit. Now, I see this as a means of raising funds for Boko Haram activity. That's what I see.
You're saying the money being generated from kidnapping
For kidnapping
is being used to fund.
yeah, because Punch came out with a report a few days ago that says in the last 9 months, from the record of those who says they paid ransom, over 300 million naira was paid as ransom by Nigerians.
And not everybody will come out to say they paid ransom.
Half of the people will not come out to say so, but for the few that came out to say that they paid, over 300 million was calculated as was paid as ransom. So this is a big business. It's no longer a ragtag business. It's becoming, and the sophistication of equipment that these bandits are using is no longer something that some small boys around simply put together. And you see that it's so coordinated that even our security operatives are afraid. Those that were kidnapped, the APU students, those that took their ransom, in their report says that when they were going, they met security men on the road at night about 10-11 p.m. They stopped them and asked them where they are going, and they told them we are going to pay ransom, and the policemen wished them luck. I said they should keep going. It means that it's good that government doesn't want to call it what it is, so that the citizens are not scared. However, I see that if the funding, the moment US tagged Boko Haram as a terrorist organization, their access to external fund was greatly depleted, and there is a need to raise funds from within.
You think that is what has been done through kidnapping?
That's what I see. That's what I see principally. It's becoming too much. You can imagine how many people have been kidnapped in Ondo and Ekiti State put together in the last 2 weeks, and imagine how much will have been paid. These guys should have gotten so rich and get tired of kidnapping people and simply
if it would be a product of hunger or desire to satisfy some personal needs.
They should have got it, and because we didn't know, if you sit down and look at it critically, you can imagine how many people have been kidnapped.
And the millions that would have gone into their pockets. So
they should go to rest and
should have been done by
now. because about, I think 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, some people were going to a festival in Imoru, that's in Oselo government, were kidnapped, and then the following week the KBC, the traditional ruler of Ifo, was murdered, was killed, and then like a day later the chief of staff to the governor was kidnapped, and they, you wonder, maybe at least they've done something, let them the rest for a while before they do another one.
That's why you have sometimes before now, if there are armed robbery on the road, when there's a major robbery on a particular road, you don't see them there. For some time they simply go away.
But in this instance,
they will kidnap today and they'll go to the same point tomorrow and kidnap.
Okay, so some people, a lot of Nigerians, in trying to profile solutions to the problem of insecurity, some people have advocated judicial reforms, some people have advocated restructuring. Earlier this morning on the phone, I spoke with a member of the House of Representatives representing Ekiti South Federal Constituency 2, that is from Bamshile, former Speaker Ekiti State House of Assembly. Let's quickly listen to it.
Been on this for a long time, coupled with the fact that all the things that you've enumerated that is happening in the country as we speak, insecurity way in the north, it is coming gradually, or I would say naturally, it is within the southwest now, with what just happened in Ekiti State, the one in Ondo State, and it's becoming quite alarming. And if we don't go into restructuring, as everybody has been clamoring for fairness, equity, and justice, we'll find out that this will continue to repeat itself. And I want to tell you, I'm in a committee that really, we talked about restructuring there. I made it very clear to them. One of my committees is Niger Delta. And when I learned about what is happening within the system, it's crystal become clear that a lot of people in this country, or zones within this country, just see Nigeria as a country where everybody goes in there to take their own piece of pie. And it's quite unfortunate. And with all that we have learned, or we're learning presently at the National Assembly, all we're clamoring for, and I think it's with everybody within, if not everybody, almost 95% of lawmakers here are clamoring for restructuring. And that's all that we can have for a better Nigeria and a place for us all to live.
Talking about insecurity in Nigeria, especially with what happened in Borno on Saturday, where farmers, the BBC reported that 110 farmers were killed, on the farm, that they've been able to recover 43 bodies.
Yes.
Now, regarding security, what is the general feeling in the House of Representatives among your colleagues?
As we speak now, it's unfortunate that we are somewhat on a break, deliberating on on our budget. So the House is not sitting. We would come back to see it reconvene anytime from now, probably, if not this week, will be next week. But with all that we have seen, I know the Speaker, we still spoke about 3-4 days ago, is looking at wanting to reconvene the House really quickly and address these issues. And now, even outside of it, the Speaker is monitoring all activities going on within the country. But like I said, if you look at Borno State, it's becoming alarming, the things that are happening there. The governor himself has been attacked on 2 different occasions. And if you see that happening, that clearly tells you that nobody is safe there. And if you look at Ndume, what he has said clearly, is it not becoming clear now that the country is really not safe, particularly at the northern zone, the northeast zone of the country? And that's what we're saying. It's gradually coming to the south.
The Sultan said the same thing, that they now go to people's houses.
That's what I'm saying. These are things that are quite alienated to us in the southwest, and are beginning to get, and I know that the president, as we speak today, from feelers that we're getting, will probably give a clear note of what would happen in the country this afternoon or this evening. And this is exactly what we're expecting him to do. Everybody needs to speak up. We are speaking up from the National Assembly here because you really don't know who is going to affect the next day. He doesn't talk about cream crowd. He doesn't talk about age. He doesn't talk about where you're from or religion or anything. These people just come in as they have operated in the past, or they're still operating in the Northeast, come into people's houses, just jack them off, and before you know it, slaughter them like rams. I don't know. These are things that are totally alienated to our nation. And
Honorable Pameshule, you belong you're also part of the political leadership in the country, being a member of the National Assembly. There are people who feel that the political leadership in Nigeria has not really done enough when it comes to addressing security in Nigeria.
My brother, let me tell you something clearly. For us at the National Assembly,
they also believe that some people would now see it as a business, as a way of making money and enriching themselves.
Listen, my brother, I don't know who will be doing that people's blood money. I don't know whoever could be in his right senses and be doing that. And yet people would continue to insinuate, particularly if they're not getting the best result from government. And that's exactly what it is. But I can assure you, from what is happening here and the deliberations and the meetings that we have on a daily basis, people are even, as we speak, lawmakers are getting scared themselves because it can knock on your door at any point in time. So nobody is spared of all this that is happening. So I want to tell you clearly, when you hear people insinuate that probably law or leadership of the country are not getting involved in matters that are on, for us, we would advise, we would check the excesses of the executive, we would advise them on things that we hear on a constant basis. Some of us are locked down to the grassroots. We listen and we hear things that happen. We're not alienated to these things, and we hear them on a daily basis. And we advise government on what needs to be done. And we cry out on the floor of the National Assembly at every opportunity that we have. And that's what we're asking for. Let us get this done once and for all.
Earlier on, Honorable Amshila, you said that the lawmakers on the break attended to the 2021 budget. Do you think the leadership of the House of Representatives and the National Assembly as a whole now appreciates or recognizes the negative impact of insecurity on the development index, the economic development of Nigeria?
Dimeji, I just told you now that even when we break or we're in the recess on budget processes, don't forget the leadership of the National Assembly are not in any committee, so they're not looking at two budget. As we speak to you, I know the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Temidayo, still talked about these killings in Borno State yesterday, and they're looking keenly into it. The ones who are on break, when I say on break, are those of us who are committee chairmen attending to our various committees' budget and inviting all the various agencies and MDJs to sort out the budget. And this will be done in about a week. We'll be over all these things in a week. So I want to assure you, at the level of leadership at the House of Representatives and the Senate, we are working on these things and we are deliberating upon them. And the moment we get back, we're looking into ways that these things will be resolved. I give kudos sincerely to the governor of Borno State, the way he's handling matters there. But it cannot be done by him alone. That's why everybody's clamoring for restructuring. When we get this restructuring done within the system, I can assure you things will get better in this country.
Okay, 12 minutes before 3 from the studios of Adaba FM. It's still the roundtable. We've been talking about insecurity. We've talked about the economic implications of insecurity. Let's look at the solutions now. And I'm going to start from Mr. Adaba. A lot of people, like I said, before we listen to that phone interview with Femi Bamshile, a lot of people have advocated restructuring because they believe that this, in a way, will take care of the distribution of wealth, that it will address the issue of state policing or community policing, whichever you choose to call it. Some have also advocated what they call judicial reforms. Do you think that these two can help in a way in bringing security to the country?
Definitely, they will help in bringing security to the country. But beyond that, those of them who are entrusted with public authority, must cultivate the habit of obeying the law. They must subject themselves to obeying the Constitution.
That's rule of law. It has to do with judicial reforms as well.
So that when they do this, the people themselves will be able to toe their line. But so long those who are in authority continue to flout court orders, continue to flout the Constitution, even their party Constitution, it's not going to augur well for the state. Number two, there are certain processes in the traditional society. The process of the ownership, the custodian of the land. The custodians of the land have a responsibility within their society. This responsibility has to do with the safety, with the peace, with the normalcy within the society. They should begin, to participate, to perform their own assignment within the community. This will also help us to boost security within each community, which will culminate, in the security of the totality of the people. Again, number three, the people themselves must see security as a personal concern, and they should go beyond the legalize. They should be able to show concern and do the little they could to ensure that there is security in the land.
Mr. Jegede, do you see an end in sight to security in Nigeria?
Now, two things I think we can do to get this quickly resolved. One is in the immediate and is actually in the pocket of the president. The other one, it may need constitutional review. However, the one that I think is in the immediate, everybody that matters in this country, apart from the president, has said the service chief should go. Everybody. Northern elders.
You think they're not doing enough?
They're not doing anything.
Apparently. You see, let's assume you need a military clearance to go to farm. If you don't have the clearance, should you get to the farm? If the military are actually in charge,
You should have been stopped from going
you should
there.
have been stopped from getting to the farm. But you did not get the clearance. You were allowed to get to the farm.
Even
You were also
started
allowed-
farming.
They started farming. You are also allowed to get killed. Then they come to tell us that you are not cleared to get to the farm. So it means that they're not in charge. And we need, you see, when the military chief, if everybody, the House of Assembly, the National Assembly, the Senate, the House of Rep, the Northern Elders, the South-South leaders, the Southwest leaders, everybody has called on the president to let the service chief go. Only the president believes in them, from the story we have. So if a leader in the Southwest, for instance, says the service chief should go, if that leader in the Southwest has information, do you think he will give it to a service chief he does not trust? It will not. So getting information across to them becomes difficult because the people already said clearly that we no longer trust you in this place.
Let's talk about the long-term solution now.
The long-term solution is that we need to improve on our intelligence. You see Nigerian security working more on firepower.
Than intelligence gathering.
Is useless.
You can't end a war without information.
Yes, firepower is useless without intelligence. We spend billions of naira, probably because of corruption, I said earlier, but we do nothing with intelligence. But for us to improve intelligence in Nigeria, we need to go the way of community policing. Not police in the community that carry guns, but police in the community that has their ears to the ground, who can give information to the federal police that has gun. We don't say equip them with gun, no, but let us have more legs on the road. Let there a farmer be part of the police system and be paid, so that if he sees something strange on the farmland, he can easily tell somebody who is going to tell somebody, and those that has the gun to stop the crime can now come in with their gun to stop the crime. So that's the long-term thing that I think, and it's actually not long-term, because if the president wants to get that done, when they want to get budget passed, they know how to call the Senate president and the House of Rep speaker and put them on the table, and by the time they get out of the meeting, they smile and the budget is passed tomorrow. Can we do the same thing now to save the lives of Nigeria?
Mr. Rosimi.
Well, unfortunately, we seem not to understand how bad and how deep the problem is. Nigeria has two major problems now confronting it. One is economy is bad. It's bad because they were supposed to have taken actions 10, 15 years ago, invest in infrastructure, divest the economy, look at external economy advantage, invest in agriculture, have food sufficiency, stop.
Which we didn't do.
We didn't do all of that. Now, the global product on which our economy is premised, the Brent price is down.
That is petroleum.
Then the quantity we are producing is down.
Yes.
Our overhead that we have built to a certain level is there. We need to borrow to meet that overhead, or we come down. We need to short some importation so that there won't be excessive pressure on our foreign reserve, so that second currency will not continue to depreciate our local currency badly. That problem is there. Security issue now joined.
Is worsening the economy.
So we have two serious problems that is beyond the political parties that we have. If we even bring another one on top of it now, I don't think the solution will be as quick as people were thinking. That's one. Two, we have a very bad security system in Nigeria. It goes beyond changing one particular individual. What is the strength of our military? What is the strength of police we have? If we are thinking of community policing, how soon can we get it done? Where is the fund to implement it? Why is it that it's so difficult to have an entrenched policing system or security system that can give real-time information across the 36 states at a time? Those who are attacking us, they are a kind of embittered species within the system. They understand how porous the security system is. They know that if we strike, if we divide our people into all the 36 states, you strike in Ondo tomorrow, you strike in Ekiti, you strike in Ebonyi, you strike in Kano, you strike in Maiduguri. They know we do not have the security capacity, we do not have the equipment, we do not have the courage to stop
respond.
We do not have. It's not about one person removing this person or not. It's about these people attacking us, understand how vulnerable, how poor our security system is. And if we must measure up, we need fund. The fund is not there. The economy is bleeding. What do? We need to go back to real federal structure. When we do that, then begin to run our economy the way we should run it. But first, appeal to everybody, call them to a political round table, whosoever that is bitter, whosoever that is having this political flagellum and say this could happen so that we create serious political tension in the system so that it can be turned. Maybe when they call all of them to round table, they should stop this. If it is manning, if it is providing security bridge that can counter this, we do not have it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rotimi Ogule. Thank you very much for coming on today's edition of the Roundtable.
It's my pleasure.
Mr. Tosi Jagada, thank you very much for coming. And Mr. Theo Adewale, thank you very much for coming. My name is Dimeji, and this is where we end it today on today's edition of the Roundtable. Thank you for listening.